Welcome back. Now, the current report, one dead, 75 injured in Hoboken. Amazing. A lot of other news. Another Miss Universe contestant. This is the headline in the article by Ed Mazza over at Huffington Post. Another Miss Universe contestant says she was fat-shamed by Donald Trump. She was the, Jody Seal is her name. She was the Miss Australia in the Miss Universe contest in 1996. She told Inside Edition that Donald Trump called the girls, quote, some pretty horrible names. He said to me, suck in your stomach, suck your gut in. He always wanted us to be sexy. He was controlling. Right. Seal said Machado, by the way, Ms. Machado is, Alicia Machado is the woman who Trump was calling Miss Piggy and Miss Housekeeping because she's Latina. Ms. Seal said that Machado, quote, weighed less than I did during the pageant, after the pageant. There's no way she was big, end of quote. Well, not in Donald Trump's mind. So it's, you know, the whole fat shaming thing is pretty bizarre. But if Donald Trump were to be elected president and Mike Pence vice president, Mike Pence, a conventional kind of cokehead Republican, right? You know, no climate change, don't regulate but you know the roof. But Donald Trump, not a conventional Republican. What would happen? I would submit to you that one of two things would happen. Either Donald Trump would kind of fade out and Mike Pence would take over, which was the sales pitch to Mike Pence to make him vice president. If the sales pitch to John Kasich is any indicator, you'll be the most powerful vice president in history. You'll run the White House. Donald Trump just wants to be the chairman of the board. He doesn't want to be the CEO. So it'll either be that, or Donald Trump is just going to go. He's just going to go his own way loudly, and he's going to drag a certain portion of the electorate in the Republican Party with him. And in that context, Michio Kukatani has written a brilliant book review of a new book that's been published. It's titled Hitler, and it's about the rise of Adolf Hitler. And he asks, how did Adolf Hitler, described by one eminent magazine editor in 1930 as a half-insane rascal, a pathetic dunderhead, a nowhere fool, and a big mouth, how did he rise to power in the land of Goethe and Beethoven? What persuaded millions of ordinary Germans to embrace him and his doctrine of hatred? How did this most unlikely pretender to high state office achieve absolute power? And he talks about how the book focuses on how Hitler gained power through demagoguery, showmanship, and nativist appeals to the masses. Hitler was often described, I'm quoting from the book review here, Hitler was often described as an egomaniac who only loved himself, a narcissist with a taste for self-dramatization, what Mr. Ulrich calls a characteristic fondness for superlatives. His manic speeches and penchant for taking all or nothing risks raised questions about his capacity for self-control. Mr. Ulrich underscores Hitler's shrewdness as a politician with a keen eye for the strengths and weaknesses of other people and an ability to instantaneously analyze and exploit situations. Hitler was known among colleagues for a bottomless mendacity that would later be magnified by a slick propaganda machine that used the latest technology, radio, gramophone records, film, to spread his message. A former finance minister wrote that Hitler was so thoroughly untruthful that he could no longer recognize the difference between lies and truth. Editors of one edition of Mein Kampf described it as a swamp of lies, distortions, innuendos, half-truths, and lies. Hitler was an effective orator. He increasingly presented himself in messianic terms, promising to lead Germany to a new era of national greatness. Although he was typically vague about his actual plans, he often harked back to a golden era for the country. Mr. Ulrich said, the better to paint the present day in hues that were all the darker. Everywhere you look now, only decline and decay.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann program. Call 202-808-9925.
So the script's already been written. If Donald Trump becomes president, he can choose, you know, does he want to go like Reagan's second term and just let George Bush run things? Or